always believed that friendships were unbreakable bonds formed through years of shared experiences, secrets, and mutual support. That was until my best friend of 15 years orchestrated my complete social and professional destruction, leaving me isolated, jobless, and questioning everything I thought I knew about loyalty. My name is Janet, and this is the story of how I discovered the truth about the person I trusted most, and how patience, evidence, and perfect timing finally delivered the justice I deserved. Cassandra and I met during our freshman year of college, both ambitious students with dreams of making it in the cutthroat world of corporate marketing. We clicked instantly, pulling all-nighters to study, celebrating each other's victories, and supporting each other through heartbreaks and setbacks. When we graduated, we promised to always have each other's backs, no matter where our careers took us. For 15 years, we kept that promise, or at least I thought we did. By our mid-30s, I had worked my way up to director of marketing at Luminous Innovations, one of the most prestigious marketing firms in the city. Cassandra had taken a different path, working for a competing agency across town. We still met every week for dinner, sharing industry gossip and personal updates, maintaining that close connection despite our busy lives. "I cannot believe Davidson handed you the Archer account," Cassandra said during one of our Thursday dinner nights, her eyes wide with what I now recognize as something other than admiration. "That is a multi-million-dollar client. You must be ecstatic." I nodded, unable to contain my excitement. "It is the biggest opportunity of my career. The presentation is in 2 weeks, and if it goes well," Davidson hinted at a possible partnership track. "Partnership? Janet, that is incredible." She raised her wine glass. "To my brilliant friend who deserves every success coming her way." I clinked my glass against hers, feeling grateful for having someone who understood exactly what this opportunity meant. Cassandra asked detailed questions about my approach for the presentation, the strategy one was developing, even the specific analytics I planned to highlight. I shared everything openly. After all, this was Cassandra, my closest friend, practically my sister. "Send me your draft presentation when it is ready," she offered. "You know I have a good eye for these things. I could give you feedback before the big day." "That would be amazing," I said, genuinely touched by her support. The night before my presentation, I was a bundle of nerves. Cassandra called to wish me luck. "You have got this, Janet," she assured me. "Remember, confidence is key. Walk in there like you already have their business." The next morning, I arrived at the office early, dressed in my most professional outfit, presentation materials meticulously prepared. Davidson stopped by my office, looking uncharacteristically concerned. "Janet, a word in my office, please." I followed him, assuming he wanted to go over last-minute details before the Archer executives arrived. Instead, he closed the door and motioned for me to sit. "I received some disturbing information this morning," he began, sliding a folder across his desk. These were emailed anonymously to every executive at Archer Industries. Inside the folder were screenshots of emails, my emails, discussing confidential information about other clients, making disparaging remarks about Archer's current marketing direction, and worst of all, suggesting inflated metrics to make our proposal more attractive. My blood ran cold. "These are not my emails, Richard. I never wrote these things." "They came from your account, Janet," Davidson said grimly. "The timestamps correspond with late nights you were working here. The IT department confirmed it." "Someone must have accessed my computer," I insisted, panic rising in my throat. I would never compromise client confidentiality or suggest falsifying data. "You know me better than that." Davidson's expression was a mixture of disappointment and anger. "The Archer meeting is canceled. They have decided to go with another agency, specifically Westmore Partners." "Cassandra's agency. That cannot be a coincidence," I whispered, as the first tendrils of suspicion began to form. "Until we get to the bottom of this, I am placing you on administrative leave," Davidson continued. "If these emails are authenticated, I will have no choice but to terminate your employment." I felt like I could not breathe. 15 years of spotless reputation, gone in an instant. "Richard, please. I am being set up. Give me a chance to prove it." "I want to believe you, Janet." "I do. But the evidence is compelling. and I have a company to protect. I walked out of his office in a daze, returned to my desk, and began packing my personal items under the watchful eye of HR. Colleagues I had worked with for years averted their gaze as I passed. By noon, I was sitting in my apartment, jobless and in shock. I called Cassandra immediately. "Cass, something terrible has happened," I began when she answered. "Janet? I was just about to call you," she said, her voice filled with what sounded like concern. "I heard about the Archer account. Are you all right? How did you hear already?" I asked, suspicion deepening. "Industry gossip travels fast," she replied smoothly. "What happened?" I explained the situation, carefully gauging her responses. While she made all the right sympathetic noises, something felt off. There was a subtle undercurrent of satisfaction in her voice that only someone who had known her for 15 years would detect. "The strangest part," I added, watching a theory form in my mind, "is that Archer decided to go with Westmore. Your agency." "Really?" Her surprise sounded rehearsed. "They have not announced anything internally yet. But if that is true, well, it is just business, Janet. These things happen. Just business." The casual dismissal of my professional catastrophe struck me like a physical blow. "I could really use a friend right now," I said, testing her. "Could you come over after work?" "Oh, I wish I could," she replied quickly. "But I have a dinner meeting I cannot reschedule." Raincheck. That was the first dinner meeting Cassandra had mentioned in months. The pieces were starting to form a disturbing picture. After hanging up, I sat in silence for a long time, replaying conversations in my mind. All those questions about the Archer presentation, her offer to review my materials, her convenient absence now that my career was imploding. It could not be coincidence. The next morning, instead of wallowing in despair, I began methodically gathering information. First, I contacted our IT department under the guise of trying to understand how my account could have been compromised. Tyler, the head of IT who had always been friendly with me, agreed to meet for coffee. "Officially, I should not be discussing this with you," he said, looking around nervously. "But the whole thing feels sketchy." "How so?" I asked. "The emails were definitely sent from your account, but when I checked the login data, there were anomalies. Someone accessed your account after hours multiple times in the 2 weeks leading up to the incident." "From my computer?" "No, that is the thing. The logins came from an external IP address, but they had your credentials." "Could someone have installed spyware or a keylogger on my computer?" Tyler nodded slowly. "Possible. Very possible. But I would need physical access to your machine to confirm, and it is locked in the office now." "What about building security footage?" I suggested. "If someone was using my computer after hours." "Already checked," Tyler said. "Convenient gaps in the server room footage on 3 separate nights. Someone knew what they were doing." I bought Tyler another coffee and thanked him for his help. It was not definitive proof, but it was a start. I needed more. My next stop was Diana from HR, who had always been professional but fair. We had served on the company wellness committee together for years. "I cannot discuss an ongoing investigation, Janet," she said when I called. "You know that." "I am not asking for details," I assured her. "I just need to know who submitted the complaint. Was it someone from Archer? Or was it anonymous?" There was a pause. Anonymous. But it did not come from Archer. In fact, when Richard called their CEO to apologize for the confusion, he said they never received any emails. They went with Westmore because the CEO's niece works there and made a personal introduction. The CEO's niece. Another connection to Cassandra's agency. "Thank you, Diana," I said. "That is all I needed to know." Over the next few days, I built a theory. Cassandra had somehow obtained my login credentials, possibly when she visited my apartment and borrowed my laptop to check her email while I was cooking dinner. She had used those credentials to create fake emails, then anonymously sent them to Davidson, creating enough doubt about my integrity to derail the Archer presentation. Meanwhile, she had leveraged her connection, the CEO's niece, to steer the account to Westmore. But why? What did she gain beyond the satisfaction of seeing me fail? I got my answer the following Monday. A press release announced Cassandra's promotion to executive vice president at Westmore Partners, specifically highlighting her role in securing the Archer Industries account, a client that would increase the agency's revenue by 20%. The final piece clicked into place. Cassandra had not just wanted me to fail. She had needed my failure to ensure her success. The Archer account was her ticket to an executive position, and I had been standing in her way. My anger was cold and clarifying. For 15 years, I had shared my life with someone who had been willing to destroy me for a promotion. But anger alone would not restore my reputation or my career. I needed evidence, irrefutable proof of what Cassandra had done. I started by documenting everything I could remember. Dates when Cassandra had been in my apartment, times she might have accessed my laptop, questions she had asked about the Archer account. I reviewed our text history, finding multiple instances where she had specifically asked about my presentation strategy. Then I reached out to Mark, a cybersecurity expert I had dated briefly 2 years earlier. We had parted amicably, and I hoped he might be willing to help. "This is borderline illegal, Janet," he warned when I explained what I needed. "If I find evidence, it might not be admissible in court." "I am not looking to sue her, yet," I replied. "I just need to know the truth for myself, and maybe convince Davidson to hear me out." Mark agreed to help, reluctantly. He showed me how to set up a digital trap, a convincing-looking document titled New Job Prospects, that, when open, would ping a server with the IP address of whoever accessed it. I made sure Cassandra knew about this document, casually mentioning during a brief phone call that I was exploring options, and documenting everything that happened at Luminous for interviews. Her interest was immediate and transparent. "Are you applying at specific agencies?" she asked, attempting to sound casual. "The job market is tough right now." "I have some promising leads," I lied, actually creating a whole document to keep track of everything. 3 hours later, Mark's program pinged. Someone had accessed the document, from Cassandra's home IP address, using my cloud storage credentials. "Gotcha," I whispered to my empty apartment. But this was still circumstantial. I needed direct evidence linking her to the fake emails. For that, I needed to get creative. I called Cassandra and suggested meeting for drinks, to catch up. I made sure to sound defeated, vulnerable, exactly how she would expect me to be under the circumstances. We met at our usual spot, a quiet wine bar downtown. I arrived early and chose a table in the corner, setting my phone to record our conversation. Legally questionable, but necessary. "You look good," she lied when she arrived. I had deliberately dressed down, applied minimal makeup, and cultivated dark circles under my eyes. "Unemployment suits me," I replied dryly. "Congratulations on your promotion. Executive Vice President, that is impressive." "Thank you," she said, having the decency to look slightly uncomfortable. "It happened rather suddenly. Right after Archer signed with Westmore," I observed. "Quite a coincidence." "Janet," she said, her voice taking on a concerned tone. "I know you are going through a difficult time, but business is business. Opportunities come and go. Some opportunities are created," I said, meeting her eyes directly. "Like when someone gains access to a competitor's confidential presentation and fabricates emails to discredit them." Her expression flickered, just for a moment, before she recovered. "That is a serious accusation. And frankly, it sounds paranoid. I thought we were friends." "So did I. For 15 years. Perhaps this is why Davidson was concerned about your judgment," she suggested, her voice dripping with false sympathy. "Stress can make people see conspiracies where there are none." I kept my expression neutral, even as fury built inside me. Tyler and IT found evidence of external logins to my account. After hours, when I was definitely not in the office. A flash of uncertainty crossed her face. "Well, that could be anyone. Corporate espionage happens all the time." The building security footage had gaps. Convenient ones. She took a long sip of wine. "I am not sure why you are telling me this." "Because I am giving you a chance to come clean," I said quietly. "Friend to friend." Cassandra laughed, but it sounded forced. "There is nothing to come clean about. You made a mistake, Janet. It happens. But trying to blame others will not fix your situation." I nodded slowly, then reached for my purse. "I need to use the restroom. Order me another glass." In the privacy of the bathroom stall, I sent a precomposed text to Mark. Execute Plan B. 2 minutes later, as I returned to our table, Cassandra's phone chimed with an email notification. I watched her face as she read it, saw the blood drain from her features. Problem? I asked innocently. No, she said, but her voice had lost its confidence. Just work. What she had received was an email from an anonymous account containing snippets of code Mark had extracted from my new job prospects document. Code that had tracked not just when she accessed it, but keystroke data showing she had searched specifically for information about the Archer presentation. The email contained just enough technical detail to be convincing, along with a simple message. I know what you did. You know, I said conversationally, as if we were discussing the weather. Cybersecurity is fascinating. There are so many ways to track digital footprints now. IP addresses, keystroke loggers, cloud access records. Cassandra's hand trembled slightly as she set down her phone. What is this, Janet? Are you threatening me? Not at all. Just sharing an interest in technology. I smiled thinly. Did you know that when someone installs spyware on a computer, it often leaves traces? Even if they think they have covered their tracks. Her composure cracked further. I should go. I have an early meeting tomorrow. With Archer? Tell them hello from me. As she hastily gathered her things, I delivered the final blow. By the way, I had an interesting chat with Melissa from your office yesterday. This was a complete fabrication. I did not know anyone named Melissa at Westmore. But Cassandra froze. Melissa? She had some interesting insights about how the Archer account came to Westmore. Specifically, about a certain conversation she overheard in the conference room. Cassandra's face hardened. You are bluffing. There is no Melissa in my department. Did I say she was in your department? I raised an eyebrow. How interesting that you assumed that. It was a shot in the dark, but it hit its mark. Cassandra grabbed her purse and stood up. I do not have to listen to this. You are just bitter because you failed. And now you are looking for someone to blame. As she turned to leave, I said quietly, the truth has a way of coming out, Cass. Whether through Melissa or building security footage or IT server logs. It always finds a way. She left without another word, but I could see the panic in her rigid posture as she walked away. The next morning, I received a call from Richard Davidson. Janet, something strange has happened, he began without preamble. IT received an anonymous email last night containing evidence that your account was compromised. They have been able to verify that logins occurred from an external IP address registered to Westmore Partners. My heart leaped, but I kept my voice steady. That is very interesting. There's more, Davidson continued. The HR complaint against you has been withdrawn. The sender claimed it was submitted in error. How convenient, I remarked. Janet, I owe you an apology, Davidson said, his voice grave. We should have investigated more thoroughly before taking action. I would like you to come in this afternoon to discuss your return. I closed my eyes, savoring the moment of vindication. I appreciate that, Richard. What time works for you? Later that day, I walked back into Luminous Innovations with my head held high. Davidson apologized formally, offering not just reinstatement, but a promotion and compensation for the weeks I had been on leave. The Archer account is gone, he admitted. But we have 3 new potential clients lined up, and I would like you to take the lead on all of them. I accepted graciously, making no mention of Cassandra or my suspicions. The evidence Mark had anonymously sent to Luminous IT department had been enough to clear my name without explicitly implicating her. A subtle approach that served my longer-term plans. Over the next few weeks, I threw myself back into work, rebuilding relationships with colleagues, and establishing my new, elevated position. I heard through industry contacts that Cassandra was becoming increasingly paranoid at Westmore, demanding to know who Melissa was and questioning staff about their loyalties. 3 months after my reinstatement, the marketing industry was rocked by a scandal. Leaked emails revealed that Westmore Partners had engaged in unethical practices to secure the Archer account, including corporate espionage and defamation of a competitor. While no names were explicitly mentioned, the details aligned perfectly with what had happened to me. The source of the leak, an anonymous whistleblower identified only as M, Cassandra was fired immediately. Archer Industries terminated their contract with Westmore and publicly distanced themselves from the scandal. Industry publications ran feature stories analyzing the ethical breach and its implications. I never confirmed whether Mark was behind the leak, or if Cassandra's own paranoia about the fictional Melissa had caused her to make mistakes that exposed her actions. Perhaps she had confronted the wrong person, or searched too aggressively through company communications, raising suspicions. Whatever the catalyst, karma had finally caught up with her. 1 week after the scandal broke, I received a text from Cassandra. "We need to talk." I did not respond. 2 days later. "I know it was you. You ruined me." Again I did not engage. Finally a long message. "I am sorry. I was jealous. You were always the talented one, the one everyone respected. I saw an opportunity and took it. I never thought it would go this far. Please, Janet. 15 years of friendship has to count for something." I stared at the message for a long time. 15 years of friendship. Memories flooded back. Birthdays celebrated together, shoulders cried on, secrets shared. All of it tainted now by her betrayal. I typed a response. "You made your choice when you decided to destroy me for a promotion." But did not send it. Instead, I deleted the draft and blocked her number. Some betrayals run too deep for reconciliation, and silence can be the most powerful response. 6 months later, I attended an industry conference where I was presenting on ethical marketing practices. My career had not just recovered, it had flourished. Davidson had made good on his promise of partnership, and Luminous was thriving under our expanded leadership team. As I scanned the attendee list the night before my presentation, one name caught my eye. Cassandra Mitchell, now listed as an independent consultant. According to industry gossip, no reputable agency would hire her after the scandal. The next morning, as I prepared to take the stage, I spotted her in the back row. Our eyes met briefly. She looked thinner, tired, her once confident posture diminished. For a fleeting moment, I felt a pang of something. Not quite sympathy, but recognition of how drastically our paths had diverged from where we had started together 15 years ago. I delivered my presentation without acknowledging her presence, speaking eloquently about the importance of integrity in business relationships and the long-term costs of ethical shortcuts. The audience was engaged and responsive, with a line of people waiting to speak with me afterward. As the crowd thinned, Cassandra approached the podium. Up close, the toll of the past months was even more evident. New lines around her eyes, a nervousness in her manner that had never been there before. "Excellent presentation," she said, her voice subdued. "Very insightful." "Thank you," I replied neutrally. "Janet, she began, then stopped, seeming to struggle with what to say next. "I made a terrible mistake." I looked at her steadily, neither encouraging nor discouraging her confession. "I was so focused on getting ahead that I forgot what mattered," she continued. "Our friendship, it meant everything to me. And I threw it away." "Yes," I agreed simply. "You did. Is there any way?" she started, then reconsidered. "No, I suppose not. Some things cannot be undone." I gathered my presentation materials, taking my time before responding. "You know the strangest part, Cassandra? You could have succeeded without destroying me. You were always talented enough to earn that promotion legitimately." She flinched as if I had struck her. I realize that now. 15 years, I said quietly. 15 years of trust, broken for a title you held for less than 4 months. Tears filled her eyes, but I felt no satisfaction in her distress, only a profound weariness. "I should go," I said, closing my portfolio. "I have another session to attend." As I started to walk away, she called after me. "I really am sorry, Janet." I paused, then turned back. "I know, but knowing does not change anything." That brief exchange was the last time I spoke to Cassandra. I heard through mutual acquaintances that she eventually relocated to another city, starting over in a different industry. Sometimes I wondered if she found redemption there, if she learned from her mistakes and became a better person. Other times, I acknowledged the harsh truth that not everyone deserves a second chance. At least not with the people they have harmed most deeply. As for me, I continued to build my career on the foundation of hard work and integrity that had always guided me. The betrayal that had nearly destroyed me became instead a powerful lesson in resilience and discernment. I became more careful about who I trusted, but I did not let Cassandra's actions poison me against all relationships. Instead, I developed a small circle of genuine friends whose loyalty had been tested by time and circumstances. 2 years after the scandal, Luminous Innovations merged with a larger international agency, creating new opportunities for growth and innovation. As Chief Strategy Officer for the combined entity, I found myself traveling frequently, meeting with clients around the world, and mentoring young professionals entering the industry. During one such mentoring session, a bright young marketing assistant asked me the secret to my success. Integrity, I answered without hesitation. Technical skills can be learned, strategies can be developed, but reputation, once lost, is almost impossible to fully restore. Guard yours carefully. Is that why you were able to bounce back from that situation a few years ago? She asked tentatively. The one that was in all the industry publications. I smiled, realizing that my personal story had become something of a legend among newer marketers. Partly, but it was also about patience. When you know you are right, you do not need to shout it from the rooftops. You simply need to methodically gather your evidence and wait for the right moment. Like a chess game, she suggested. Exactly like a chess game, I agreed. Especially the part where you have to be willing to sacrifice smaller pieces to protect what truly matters. What matters most to you now? She asked. I considered the question carefully. Authenticity. Living and working in a way that aligns with my values. Surrounding myself with people who share those values. Her follow-up was unexpected. Do you ever think about her? Your former friend? I was silent for a moment. Less and less, I finally admitted. The best revenge was not watching her fall. It was rising beyond what either of us had imagined possible. As I spoke those words, I realized their truth. The sweetest part of my journey had not been Cassandra's downfall, but my own unexpected ascension. Not just professionally but personally. I had emerged from betrayal not just intact, but somehow more authentic, more discerning, more appreciative of genuine connections. Karma had indeed balanced the scales, not through my orchestration, but through the natural consequences of our respective choices. Cassandra had chosen deception and sabotage. I had chosen patience and persistence. The outcomes spoke for themselves. The ultimate lesson was not about revenge at all, but about resilience, about facing betrayal without becoming bitter, about reclaiming your narrative when someone else tries to write it for you, and about recognizing that sometimes the most powerful response to those who hurt you is simply to thrive in their absence. I rose from the ashes of Cassandra's betrayal, not because I successfully engineered her downfall, but because I refused to let her actions define my story. And in that refusal, that quiet, determined reconstruction of my life and career on my own terms, I found a victory far more satisfying than revenge could ever be.